My name is Jalen Lewis, and this is the
Gilchrist Experience.
and this is the Gilchrist Experience. Today we'll be watching a tape about the marvelous things that we do in the Boys and Girls Club and of Harlem. This is my great grandfather, and his name is Papa.
Well, you know, we have to practice that. Last week she was a little better than that. But, you know, let's go to the roll-in. Thank you for coming. We'll be right back to you.
As I was sitting there listening to speeches, I looked around this wonderful room, and I know we'll have a chance to see some of the other rooms in this state-of-the-art Boys and Girls Club, number 2000 Boys and Girls Club. I thought to myself, I see all that steel, I see all that cinder block work and electrical work and air conditioning work. And it takes about this much stuff to make a jail. It's about what it would take. And that's what we've been doing too much of in recent years. We've been using this kind of material and treasure to build jails to put our children in eventually. No other civilized nation in the world has as many people in jail as we have in jail. So we need more mentors. We need more places like this, where the community comes together and says to the young people of the community, and especially in this neighborhood here, we care about you. Because you see, what these young people are seeing, not just a nice place to play basketball or in the computer room to run a software program. They don't see steel and cinder blocks alone. What they see are people who care about them. What they see are people who love them. What they see are people who have expectations of them and about them and will not let them fail. We do not have anything more important to do than to protect youngsters like this and put them on the road to success. The choice is very simple. We either build our children or we build more jails. It's time to stop building jails and get back to what we know how to do as Americans, and that's to build our children.
Experience. Today's guests, of course, there are normal regulars on the show, Owen Rogers and, of course, Graham Witherspoon. We always bring in this subject matter of our kids because of the fact that that's our future. You know, I was just talking to Owen when I was raised in New York in the early 50s. So I was born in 41, so I was born and raised in New York. Coming up as a kid, there were plenty of activities, and it was always a way to make money. I mean, there was always something to do. I started selling newspapers when I was 11. We're talking about 1952. Yeah. There was always something honest to do. And you could get, everybody worked in the grocery store or the, the supermarket and packing packages.
Groceries.
And always something, as a kid, I was always active. But I always had that Friday hustle on, every Friday I'd run down to Times Square and grab 100 newspapers because there were only 28 pages at the time. And at the time, the numbers were in the newspapers because they went by the track. So I would hop on the train and I would get uptown before the truck got uptown because I'd take the A train. So I pick up the newspapers, 100 stack of newspapers, hop on the A train, and by the time the paper wasn't out, the first edition, so I practically sold 75 newspapers by the time I got uptown. And there were 3 cents off the truck. They were selling them for a nickel on the stand, but people would give me a dime. So I was making something like 7 cents on a newspaper. Right. So it was great. Now, I did that every Friday night until I was in high school. That was my money maker. And then on the weekends, I worked in a butcher shop. And that was great because I worked scrubbing the blocks in the butcher shop on Broadway, right? I scraped the blocks and I wanted to build them up, my muscles and stuff. And I delivered the groceries from the butcher shop. And at the end of the day, on a Saturday, they would give me extra meat. So I bring home, I
brought
got a
home
little
meat.
money in my pocket. I work from 4 to 7, and on Saturdays, all day Saturdays, and I come home with $20 in my pocket. I forgot how much.
But you could buy a
significant amount of
week's
money.
groceries
Yeah.
with $20.
That's a
Yeah, but
significant amount of money back
brought
then.
home my mother a bag of groceries, you know, because they didn't want things to spoil over
meat
the
from
weekend.
butcher
Right.
shop.
Right?
Right.
And my mother loved that job.
What is not often recognized is that was part of character building for a whole lot of
Exactly.
reasons.
Right.
You learn to make honest money.
Right.
That's critical.
That's right.
You learn to help your family, that you weren't necessarily just a sponge and a dependent,
Right.
but you were contributing to your family.
Right.
Those things were a significant part of your upbringing.
Right.
It is sad to say that in today's world, for a whole lot of reasons, that's missing from the life of a lot of adolescents. The opportunity for an adolescent to get honest work and make a couple of dollars is rare. Just today, I was up on Fordham Road, and they had a job fair of some kind. Thousands of people lined up in the Bronx on the street for the opportunity to present a job application.
Right.
This is, so you know the children are left out.
Right.
The adults are fighting hard to get a job to earn honest money, so children don't have that opportunity. And what it means to be able to contribute to your family's financial wherewithal,
Yeah.
that character building is something that's missing from children and sadly from a lot of adults.
Yeah.
So that we see some of the detriment of what's happening because of the economics, and we also have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to supplant that? What are we doing so our children can build that character, even if they're not earning a paycheck, even if they're not helping to pay for the groceries? What are we doing in 2014 that would help our children develop that kind of character the way that you went through that a couple of decades ago? That's
Yeah.
a significant burden that's on us. It's our job, nobody else's.
You know, it is definitely part of character building. I'm just looking at this band on my wrist. There's a little boy at my church, Christian. He makes these.
Ah.
So he was making them to make extra money. Yeah, he's about 10, 11 years old. And one of his classmates said, well, what's the money going to? He said, I'm just doing it to make money. His classmate said, I won't buy one. He said, you're not doing anything for anybody. So he thought about it. And now he makes them to raise money for a charity to help other children in need. So I saw him Sunday, and he had different wristbands, and I said, well, what's this one for? He said, well, that's for Barbados. I said, I'll take it.
Ah, the
Excellent.
colors.
Excellent.
Right, because he had one red, white, and blue. I said, is this for the United States or Panama? And another little girl said, that's for the United States of America. I said, okay. And then he said, that's for Barbados. I said, okay, I'll take it, because I have family from Barbados. I said, I'll take that one. He's 10 years old. And he's helping other children who are not as fortunate as he. And this is something we need to understand. Volunteerism, doing things to help other people
Right. Yeah, yeah.
beyond the dollar, just doing things beyond the dollar.
It's an important lesson.
And, you know, I was talking to some guys in Bed-Stuy one day, and they said, well, you know, we can't find a job, this, that, and the other. So I said, okay, how much is a pack of cigarettes? $10? Yeah. Okay. So you're making somebody wealthy by killing yourself.
Right.
Ouch.
Okay. So there's something wrong with that picture. Now, if you can afford to buy cigarettes, and you really can't afford to buy cigarettes if you're not working, then you can afford to take that same money and put it into something that's going to generate revenue for you. And anybody can take this. This is free. I said, look down the block. The solution to a problem is in the problem itself.
Right.
So I said, look down the block. What do you see? And there's the cars, the houses, right. But every house has a wrought iron fencing,
Right.
a gate,
Security
and
gates.
the railings. So I said, don't they look like they need to be painted? You don't need a resume. You don't need a college degree. You don't need anybody to give you a job.
good wire
Start your
brush.
own business.
But-
Instead
but-
of buying the cigarettes,
Yeah.
get a wire brush, primer, black enamel paint, and some metal filler. Go to one house, start there. Take one of the seniors of the block, an old lady, a widow lady. Paint her railings for free. That will be your prototype
Advertise yourself.
and advertise you, your business, and then you go from there.
That
And
takes, that takes personality.
Well, this is the way you can make money. You can start a business of your own. You're not looking for anybody to fund you or give you a check every week. You do it yourself. And literally, in the months between March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and maybe part of November, you can be working. And you can take off for the winter. If you're not spending your money foolishly, saving the money, and all you're buying, and then as you continue, find somebody that can think like you, train them to do what you do, you expand your business, and you take a percentage of whatever they're doing, you know. But the opportunities are there.
That's a significant lesson, and I hope that the young man was able to understand and appreciate what you said, because what you said to this young man is something that some people are paying tens of thousands of dollars to some graduate business school in order to learn. And there is the opportunity for our children to learn from their parents, from our community, the things that they need in order to survive. The way that this capitalist system is set up, unfortunately, is, you know, somebody's going to get rich teaching you how to wash your face. Somebody's going to get rich teaching you how to paint a fence. And they have people and corporations that do that. The opportunity that we need to seize is how our children can get rich, how they can support themselves by learning these lessons in inexpensive ways. And this is part of the task of parenthood. Ultimately, teaching our children to be self-sufficient is the task of every parent. And that's not something that you have to pay thousands of dollars for. You don't have to attend a graduate school to do that. Every parent, it is our task that we are going to let our children know this, and this is what you can do. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but it will generate the money that you can support yourself, support your family. That's a critical part of family life that, sad to say, is oftentimes missing. And the result.
But you know what? What's basically we're talking about is how our character was built.
Old folks like us.
All right, we're all
It's
well
gotta
over
be passed
50,
on.
Yes.
of course.
It's gotta be passed on.
But let's update ourselves and see who the character builders are of today. The character builders of today are football players. All right, I have a piece here at Boys and Girls Club where one of the linebackers came from the New York Giants. He sat down and talked to the kids, and I was quite enthused by it. He's 29 years old. He's linebacker. I don't know how many years he was with Baltimore Ravens. Talking about character building, but he tells the story of. Well, I tell you what. Let's go to this other role, and then we'll talk about what characters are showing our kids how to treat our women to start with. We'll talk a little bit about what's in the press today. And let's go to this other clip about the Boys and Girls Club, and we'll come right back to you. Thank you.
You already know, but this is James, Jamil McLean from the New York Giants. So let's give him a little.
What position do you play?
I'm gonna step back.
You always knew you was not girl, right? That's me. What's your next game?
Play Houston at home.
Texans?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an easy game.
Nothing is easy. That's like, I promise you. So what are y'all doing, man? What are y'all
Waiting for a computer,
Yeah.
internet.
So do homework?
Yeah.
So what's this like? This is y'all work group?
Yeah.
So y'all study partner?
No, he's in 6th grade.
He's in 6, they're in 7. You in 7?
I'm done. Wait, tell us stand up, show me how. Tell us stand up.
No, I wasn't
up.
saying it like
Tell us
that.
stand up straight.
And
He's
you
in
in
7th
6.
grade. Stand up.
And you in 6?
7.
You in 7? That's crazy. I was like the same height when I was in 6th grade. Like I didn't grow since 6th grade. I'm must do the same thing.
He stays the same way.
I stay the same every day.
No, he stays the same way since like third grade.
From third grade, I've been 80 pounds and I'm still 80 pounds.
Oh, that's crazy. You're gonna love that when you get 45. Trust me. You're gonna love that.
So how old are you?
Huh? I'm 29. Is that older young?
That's young.
That's young? Will you still in your 20s? So next year I'm not gonna be young.
How are you?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm great. I'm an avid football fan.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
I followed your career when you were in Baltimore.
Oh, thank you. Oh, see.
Congrats on getting your ring.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
I need
Should have
another
brought the
one.
ring with you.
Well, I mean, the next time I come, I'm gonna bring my ring. Is that cool?
Do you have a highlight reel?
Do I have a highlight reel?
In his pocket.
He made some good tackles on Sunday's game.
I got some somewhere, but I don't keep it around.
I'm like, what's it called? Like somebody could post it like on YouTube or something.
They can post it on YouTube.
Like highlights, you know, like.
Yeah, sometimes people do stuff like that, but I don't keep it myself. I'm not big on highlights. I'm a simple guy. Let me see what everybody else is talking about. Oh, we definitely gonna get a picture.
And I put it exactly.
What's your name?
Exactly. Put on social media. Exactly. And break your work page.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to making new friends.
It's a good friend to have, indeed.
What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What y'all doing over here?
You sure about that? Yes. Some of the people that were there, I was like,
Janelle? Look. Oh, so you're not going to say anything? Senator, nice to meet you. So what is it that y'all working on? No one can tell me which way it's going.
I used to be a calendar. You're a giant. They used to be bigger than circle chart to write illustration
Everything all right. Good. Thanks for having me.
Proud to have
Thanks
you.
for having me. Sitting relaxing. I'm learning about the studies, man.
All right. These guys are some good friends to make, man.
They're the good ones to make? Yeah. Oh, so y'all will be the ones that's going to help me get by in class if I was here. Yeah. So we got more kids coming, right?
I think the football team was just going to stop through on their way to
Just stop through on their way through?
Yeah, I don't know if you had time to go to the field because they actually have practice today.
Where's the field at?
The field is maybe about 4 blocks away.
4 blocks?
Yeah. 4 Baltimore blocks.
About 4 Baltimore blocks. Now, I'm from Philly, so 4 Philly blocks.
Well, 8 Philly blocks.
8 Philly blocks. Oh. I'm there. I mean, if they stop by, I'm down. If they listening, I'm talking.
Okay.
I'm good.
Oh, hi, Rambo.
Oh, it's okay. How you doing?
Check, you should have got it.
Oh, that's your team? So now I'm in there. We gonna be hard. He's doing good. I just talked to him earlier. That's perfect.
Wait,
What's up, man? Jamel, how are you? Number 21? Cornerback. See, you smart man. You gave me everything. What's your name? Nice. Who's you play? Defensive end, tight end. Very nice.
Nice. They can treasure that for, forever. They got a chance to make that pro bowler.
See, that's the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. That's one of the sites that we have at Frederick Douglass High School. So we're just showing you a few of the things that we do with the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. As I mentioned several times before, I'm on the board of directors, and we're building a new building in the next 2 years. So a lot of these programs are going to come to you, and we're doing some other stuff with Puffy Cohen and Hello Harlem, and you'll hear much more about the Boys and Girls Club of Harlem. But what we're basically talking about is building character. You know, I was talking about when I was a kid, how I was fortunate enough to be born and raised in New York, where there's so many things you can do and so many different kind of people that you're around that I built my character, you know. I had no fear about anything. I was fearless. And when Emmett Till was killed in '55, I couldn't understand what racism was, because I was in George Washington High School. It was half and half at George Washington High School in the '50s, and it just baffled me that, you know, you could be killed because you were colored. You know,
Colored, right.
Colored. What? Why are people sitting in the sun and trying to get my color? That was always my confusion. When I saw people went to Coney Island Beach and everybody running around laying, putting suntan all on, me too. Because my mother was the darkest one in the family, and she was a beautiful brown skin. And I always wanted to be her color. So that's why you see me sitting in the sun all the time. I'm always running getting suntans, because I love, and it's a good feeling. It's a vitamin D. And it's invigorating. You lay in the sun and look pretty.
Something that you mentioned in two ways that struck me. The need for role models, I think, is critical. Whether it be your parents, whether it be a pro bowler, the need for role models is a critical thing. And a lot of people out there, average, everyday, Joe and Jane, one of the things that we have to challenge people is recognize that they can be and should be role models for our children. You can be the guy who delivers groceries. You can be the person who cleans up the trees and shrubs on the block. Whatever it is that you do, if it's honest money,
right,
you can be a role model for the children. And the baller mentioned that. He said something that I thought was interesting, and I'm wondering how many of the children heard it. He said that nothing is easy in this life. I promise you,
right,
it's going to be hard.
Right.
And role models will do that for our children. You know, you're going to go up against struggle. It's going to be hard. But you know what? You have the strength to conquer. You have what it takes to win. It ain't going to be easy. Role models will do, and again, whatever your title, whatever your occupation, whatever your hobby, your skill, your talent, we can prepare children for adulthood with that simple lesson. And he, as a role model, certainly your parents as role models, our parents as role models, is critical. We have to understand how the media tries to supplant our role as
that's
you
it.
know, our
That's it.
attitude,
That's my
our
point.
position
That's it.
as role models, because they'll put somebody on TV and they'll say, this is who you should emulate, this is who you should be like. Some skinny girl with the tight clothes on, this is what you should look like. Some guy who's making a lot of money, sometimes illegally, that's what you should be like. And they supplant us. Our challenge is to be role models to our children. That's critical. And whatever it is that we do, we cannot let go of that, because other people do not have the interests of our children at heart.
Well, what about one thing I want to bring a real point to, talking about football players and talk about Adrian Peterson and how we treat our children. Now, I don't know. I know I was always threatened with a beating. I don't even remember really getting one snap at a belt by my father. But my father was so intimidating. I'm sure you do that to your kids. But I mean, Adrian Peterson is accused of beating his 4-year-old.
Now let's be realistic.
Okay.
We know what it is to be hit with a switch.
Right.
We all do.
Right.
Right. We don't play timeout. We don't play timeout at home. It's not an African American thing. Timeout.
Okay.
You're either doing what you should be doing, or you're gonna get tapped.
Right.
Now, that methodology of go get a switch, you know, and that was, you know, your mother might have told you go get a switch or whatever.
The belt.
Because you knew that you were doing what you were not supposed to be doing.
Right.
So now you're going to go and get the very instrument that's going to be used to chastise you because you did what you should not do.
But a lot of people abuse that, though.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's abuse in it. There can be abuse in anything.
Okay.
All right? Now, I don't see this guy as being some demon that they're trying to portray him to be.
But the kid's 4 years old.
He's 4 years old. Now, the question is, did he get some, they said that he beat him with a branch.
Yeah.
You know what a branch is?
Yeah.
Come on. So we need to put everything in perspective, all right? a 4-year-old, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, you know. You thrash a kid with a twig or whatever it is, doesn't make you a brutalizer. Yeah, it's going to sting. It's going to sting. But as you said, that's the way he was raised.
Yeah.
All right?
We're all
Now,
raised like that.
I don't see this as a major incident, not like the other guy punching out his girlfriend on the elevator.
Yeah.
All right?
Different story.
Where, you know,
We'll
because
get to that one. Right?
when media gets hold of a story, they will now fluff it and fluff it and fluff it and build. Well, this is a new thing now. We're gonna talk about this, like with Michael Vick. Oh, let's talk about animal abuse.
Yeah, yeah,
Give me a
you know.
break. You know, there are more important things going on than dog fights and there are people dying out
And
here.
look what happened to him, and he
wasn't
his
even there.
friends did it.
Right, he wasn't even there. He goes to prison. So
Right.
it's ludicrous. Children that are being abused sexually in the sex trade, that are being brutalized in their homes is one thing. A guy taking a switch and hitting and slapping a kid on his behind because he's not listening, I don't see that as abuse, all right? Unless you can show me. Now, when my mother came home, when my brother and I acted up, my mother would come home. We didn't get hit with a switch. We got hit with my father's garrison belt that he wore in World War II, and it was leather. It was about 3 inches wide. Now, we would be in our beds asleep because my mother came home, she worked nights. So we tore up during the day, and my grandmother said, you don't get it when your mother get home. Yeah. We go to bed, and we had bunk beds, and I was on the top bunk. I am asleep. My mother would come home, peel back those covers, make sure she got right into the meat, okay? And she came down, and one day she hit me so hard, I jumped up in the bunk bed, hit my head on the ceiling, and fell back into bed. Now, we went to school with welts on our body. And anybody out there that's old school, you know you went to school with welts.
Tell them how big tell them how tall your mother was.
My mother was 5'4", okay? Now, and she dropped some men. I saw her punch a detective in his mouth. This is no big thing. Yes, children are abused, okay? But don't tell me that the guy took a switch and hit a 4-year-old kid and tapped him on his behind. That's abuse, okay? Because one thing that we need to understand.
All right, let's get to the serious
Wait, let me
stuff.
get to the serious point, because I tell parents this. You need to keep your child in check.
Discipline is necessary.
I've had parents sit before me in my office and tell me they're afraid of their child. You birthed this person and you're afraid of them? You do not raise a child to have them tell you, if you hit me, I'm calling the police.
Oh, that's, yeah, no, well.
There's something wrong in your house, all right?
Yeah, well, that's
Your
that's
child
ACS.
should know. You know,
That's
I don't know, and I tell parents, some people, oh, you shouldn't hit a child.
No.
Look, we're alive and well. We're functioning. We're not damaged. We're not dysfunctional. We're not abusive. Abusive people, they say, become abusers. Okay? All of that stuff sounds nice. If you don't check your child will be checked by the system.
Right.
It is critical that we discipline our children. That is necessary.
Right.
The means of discipline, I think, varies from household to household. That goes without saying. And I mean, I don't think I can tell you 3 times in my life that I was physically beaten by either of my parents. But the means that they use is critical, and parents have to be at once thoughtful and not, well, the critical thing to understand is that when the parent in a rage strikes a child, that goes
That's
beyond
the problem.
discipline. When a parent is not emotionally in control of themselves and they're in a rage, that's the problem. The other thing that we have to be alert to is that we have to make sure that our children understand the discipline that is appropriate to the family, and they understand what's not appropriate when you step outside. Because one of the things that this is part of our legacy that we have to deal with, you know, that when you had the whippings, the chainings, the lynchings, that's part of our history for hundreds of years, there are some things that became normal but abusive, and people began to see that as normal. Tying a human being to a tree and whipping them till they're bleeding, that was seen as normal in some parts of this country. And sad to say, post emancipation, there are some people who still thought that was normal. We have to speak to our children so they understand discipline, they understand what's normal, and we have to prepare them for dealing with people who don't think that that whipping or something like that is abusive. So that, because this is part of what happens when our children start dealing with other people's children, when they start dealing with their spouses, you know, what do you do when your daughter ends up married to a man who thought that, you know, smacking the child with closed fists is normal? What do you do with that kind of situation? And that's part of our obligation to teach our children what's normal discipline, and that they need to be able to understand when it crosses the line. Because a great many people don't know when it crosses the line, and this is something that's a problem for all of us.
Well, let's get to the meat of the matter. A left hook to your wife's jaw. I mean, that's sick.
And what is even sicker, some women
the
actually
way
see
he
that as
dragged
normal.
her out.
Some women
no,
accept
no,
that
no,
as,
no.
there are women who
Nobody
accept
thinks
that.
that's normal.
Well, but you have all the
Nobody thinks
fans.
that's
There are beaten
normal.
women
There
who
are
accept
fans
that.
in support.
Because the fight is between them two. But still, you take a man that thinks gets so angry that he knocks out the wife or the mother of his children. I mean, the way he knocked her out.
rare.
I mean, I'm sorry, I should have brought the video, but it's
Everybody has
too
seen
obnoxious
it. Everybody's seen it.
to really watch that thing. I mean, cold cocked her.
It is
ugly and
obnoxious, but it is not rare.
Look at the fans that have come out in his support. And this is where you really got to look at the mentality, the psychology of this culture, this country.
Yeah.
They cannot separate the two entities. They can't separate the work man from the family man. Or they have separated, excuse me, they have separated. Because he's a football player and he wins games, we want him to play.
His money.
We don't care about what his situation is at home. You can look at the face, look at his wife. They went back to New Rochelle. And I'm looking at her on the tape. I said, this young lady needs help. You know, you could see it in her face.
She married him.
She's there, she marries this guy. A guy like that?
Have you seen other shots of them? I mean, they're actually in love.
Well, she doesn't know what love is. My question would be, who is your father? And this is why it's critical that you have a husband and a wife working together to build a home. A husband and a wife. That is a man and a woman. That's the only thing a marriage is. A young lady needs to know what it is to be around a man, such as her father. An absentee father, a disappeared father, is serving no justice to either of his children, because a girl needs to know what a man is and what a man is about with regard to his character and how he protects and provides for his home. A boy needs to know what a man is so that he can develop and become that kind of man.
Amen.
But we have so many absentee fathers out here. They're doing a disservice to their daughters and their sons. And I bet that young lady doesn't have a brother or a man in her life. And guys like that, they pull stunts like this when they know they're not going to get their neck broken or their behind kicked right through the wall, because if you tried that with my sister, I'd kill you. You see? And she probably doesn't have a man in her life to step to that guy and put him in check.
But then again, you look at it from the standpoint from her. There's so many women out here that are so mannish that they will test you and push you to a point that you get mad enough to cold cock them. I mean, just give it to devil's advocate. She said she had something to do with it. I don't know whether it was game or maybe she, you know, afterwards he might have cried his eyes out. But the way he manhandled her and I mean, what did she say?
She wasn't even his wife. Let's back up.
She wasn't his wife at the time. She staggered into the elevator. Let me finish this point. She staggered into the elevator. She seemed a little high. Lord knows what he said to her and what she said to him. But she came at him because he said something to her. For him to lay back and cold cock her like that, that's not a man. There's no manhood in that at all.
We agree on that.
And he should publicly come out and be humble about it and say, listen, that was the worst thing in the world for me to do. I mean, I'm being an example of a man. I mean, he should make sure that people understand that he doesn't
He is, I'm told, in some kind of treatment now. So maybe the therapy, maybe he'll get.
But
at the
he's
end
got
of
to
the
come
treatment,
out and
he
explain
might
that
get to
that's
that
no
point.
way to be a man.
He hasn't gotten
If
there
he
yet.
thinks he is
The
a
bottom
man.
line is, this is all about money. This
Yeah.
is not about him reforming himself. It's not even about the young lady.
But that,
they don't care. As long as these football teams can make money, that's all they care about. This is about dollars and cents.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
we all
about
know.
women's
Yeah.
rights or anything.
But
They
it
said
might turn out to be
Budweiser
that.
and different sponsors of, because of the money issue. This is not
most
about the
people can't
wholeness of the family.
A lot of people just can't stand to see that something like that happen. They had to do something about that.
Well,
I mean,
right.
that left,
There's
left
something-
hook was just, I mean, that I don't know anybody could hit their woman like that. I mean,
I'm
I
going to
can't
suggest something that
understand
may be troubling, which is there are, I think, 4 different athletes who've been cited in the press in the last few weeks. All 4 of them are black men. It's, NBC, ABC, CBS, let's pretend that white men don't beat up their wives. That's something that's interesting because it is no accident that you have white wife beaters who are not subjected to this kind of press.
Listen,
you have
listen,
white wives
my
who've
concern
been
is not,
hospitalized, and this doesn't make the headlines. And I think that's
the show
significant.
here is not the concern about what white men
Well,
do.
we love our
all right?
people, right? And we
All right,
concern ourselves with our people.
I want to make sure that we treat each other properly.
That is true. That is
All right?
important.
I don't want to blame nothing on anybody else, but I'm just concerned on how we treat each other.
Right.
He could have
just-
simply,
all right?
he wasn't married to her. He could have said, whatever it was that ticked him off, you know what? We're done. Get off the elevator and walk on and go on about his business. He wasn't married to her. And sometimes you need to know when to walk away from a bad situation. Because if someone controls you to the point that you can't control yourself, you got a problem when you're not in control of yourself. It's interesting how this video came out when the hotel, which has had it since April, they've had it, but they didn't release it to the NFL, theoretically speaking, or it didn't come out until after the hotel went bankrupt and closed. That's when the video was released. That was at that Ravel.
Oh, the Atlantic
Ravel
City Hotel.
in Atlantic City. They had the video. They had the video from the day of the
Well, they
incident.
sold it to
But
TMZ.
it's
or
interesting, how is it that TMZ now gets the video? Look
They
at it this
sold
way.
it. They were
They
broke.
sold it.
After
They
the
sold
hotel went
it.
bankrupt.
Or somebody that worked in the security unit that
I
had the
didn't realize
video.
that this hotel went bankrupt.
They went bankrupt
Yes.
last
they
week.
sold. Oh, that's great.
And after they went bankrupt and they cut the letters off the front of the building, the video was sold
Oh, of course.
to
They
TMZ.
needed the money.
The question is, who sold it? Was it an employee? Was it the management of the hotel that sold it? Who sold it to TMZ? And if they had it then, how is it that the commissioner says he never saw it?
And why they sell it to TMZ instead of presenting it to the police department?
And that's where this is. This is a police matter. This is not for the NFL.
Yeah.
It's not about taking these incidents to the NFL.
Yeah.
These are criminal investigations. This is domestic violence. It has nothing to do with the NFL.
The wife is saying that it's our problem. Let us solve it and give my husband back his job.
It's
She
it's
wants to
about
fix
money.
the situation.
Well,
It's about
he's going to
money.
be miserable at home doing nothing anyway.
This is like it's like a wife who benefits from a husband who is in the mob or a drug salesman because she can buy diamonds, she can buy furs. I don't. My husband goes to work every day. She doesn't care.
You want to hear what the public's got to say about? Can we get a phone number up? I know Is
Well,
that possible?
One of the lessons, and this
Are
is
you
interesting.
listening? Can you hear me in the back?
When you mentioned this, it's
Can
critical.
we, we get a phone number up?
Some of
Let's see what the public thinks. We only got 20 minutes left.
Some
but,
of the women who are subject to this kind of abuse have to think once, twice, thrice about the monies that they are willing to, the things they're willing to do in order for the money.
For money.
Well, I'll stay with him because he provides good living. Oh, I'll stay with him because I can't afford to be. And what she went through on that millionaire level is what a whole lot of women go through, on the $15,000 a year salaries. I have no place to go. I can't survive without him. What would we do? The children won't eat if he's not there with his salary. And that's the reason a whole lot of low-income women who are subject to abuse, they go back to their abusers for financial reasons. That's one of the things that is not often talked about when you have domestic violence, is that you have women, they don't see how they can survive without that husband's paycheck. That's a very common thing in our communities.
There are programs to assist women with this issue. There are programs to provide housing for women. and they place them, they'll move you and your children to another county. But it is incumbent upon the woman not to make contact with certain individuals, including the guy, certain relatives that you know you can't trust because they'll tell him where you are. Women, as difficult as it is, you can move on. You can do better without a guy and the money.
But she obviously doesn't think that.
Right.
I mean, this is not an abusive call. Let's see what the phone call. I'm sure you have something to say. We have some sensible people calling this week. We'll work for all, anybody who calls. Just leave your name.
Not the fool.
Even the fools. If you leave your name and number, we'll listen to you. All right?
Hello, are you there?
Hello?
Is there a call? No, there's no
First
call.
caller, please.
Right?
Yeah, she just came out and said there were 3. First caller, please.
Well, while we're waiting for that, what's critical for us is our daughters. How we raise our daughters is very, very important for black men to think about and to be prepared for. Are we raising our daughters to be submissive, to be docile, to be dependent? Because if you're doing that, then you're setting that woman up for a life of misery. Raising our daughters to be independent, to be outspoken is a critical part of how we strengthen our families and our community. Well,
All right, just put them on.
Good afternoon, Jeffy.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hi, it's son of MJQ, Mr. G. How you doing?
How you doing, man?
All right. You guys, whenever I want common sense, I watch the Gilchrist Experience. And, okay, you guys are always on point, especially Brother Spoon. And I want to say to Brother Spoon, I can identify with those Garrison belts because I got hit with a few of them in my day, too. But as far as Ray Rice is concerned, this man cold-cocked his girlfriend. From what I understand, she was pregnant at the time that she was hit, which I didn't find out until yesterday. But I think the young lady thought that the $40 million that this guy was breaking in was going to make all her problems go away, and it didn't work out that way. She's an educated woman. She has a college education, and she can recover from this. But she's got to be able to know when enough is enough. And personally, I really hope that she gets the help that she needs, because the longer she stays with him, she's going to be in more trouble, because it's like they say about an idle mind is the devil's playground, and the more times this man has to think, it's going to fester, and he's going to get upset, and he's going to take it on her all over again, all because, in his opinion, she can't take a punch. So I really hope this lady gets help that she deserves. And thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, if she was pregnant, that's
another crime.
That's another bag of tricks. Because
what happened to
if
the
she was
baby?
pregnant, what happened to the baby? If she lost the baby, now you're talking about homicide, forced abortion. So he could be prosecuted if she was pregnant and that child was lost. That's a homicide.
One of the things, again, and this is part of what the brother talked about, is getting women to the point of recovery and recognizing that it's better to be without a husband than to be with a bad husband. And that's a painful choice that a lot of black women have to deal with, because you have a lot of women in our community, they would rather be with a bad husband than with no husband at all. That has sociological implications and why some women stay in that kind of abusive relationship as opposed to literally fighting and leaving for their survival.
Yeah, well, that's a personal problem, and we can sit here and criticize all we want, but
and having a baby is not going to get you a man.
But that's up to them, too. I mean, a lot
of
of people out there are not in the forefront and have nothing to do with all this, and they go through worse than this.
Of course.
All right? Unfortunately. But next caller, please. You have somebody else on the phone?
Hello?
Next caller, please.
Well, looking at this, no one's there.
No more?
Looking at this scenario, it's why, again, it comes back to father, mother. Because you have to consider who you're going to get in bed with.
Yeah.
is this the kind of person that I want to be the wife or the father of my children? And you can't put the cart before the horse. You see, a lot of women think, oh, I had a baby for him. What kind of simple thinking is that? The guy doesn't want to marry you. He's not going to marry you. He's not going to marry you because you have a baby. It's just pure sex. So you need to know the quality. Again, we're coming back to character.
Yeah.
What is the character of the individual?
Women have been doing that all our lives.
And women tend to go, ladies, understand, you can listen to Steve Harvey, which makes good sense.
It's
but
entertaining, I'd say.
Women can, we're playing baseball. You're in the batter's box, okay? Now, the guy is standing at home plate with the bat. Women tend to go, they're rounding second base, heading to third, and the guy hasn't even swung the bat yet. He's not where a lot of women are. Women go way down the road and they're thinking about this guy, and he hasn't even gotten to first base yet. So you need to slow down your roll. Slow down your roll. Get to know who this guy is. What is he about? Who's his mother? Who's his sister?
Look how women act these days. Look how women act these days.
Well, again, there is no parenting going on. Children cannot raise children.
Lot has to do with the media and what we're presented, and the brainwashings we get from Nicki Minaj and all the.
Well, parents.
That's no accident.
Parents are not parenting. You need to turn off the television.
The parent is the television.
The television.
I mean, a lot of the parents don't know.
Mass media.
We've had such an onslaught of drug addiction and
children raised by television,
and so many misnomers and so many wrong ways to be as humans. I mean, we as a people. I'm concentrating on us because I'm most concerned with us because it's difficult being black today. I mean, it's one of the more difficult things that I think any human has to deal with. And
if you're walking down the street with your children and you're not interacting with your children as you're walking, but you're on the phone talking to somebody about pure stupidity, because when you're with your children, that should be a learning experience. That should be a give and take.
Children never
because
get enough
the
of their
interaction.
parents.
Children are vocal. And I see too many people walking down the street on the phone talking, and the child is trying to talk to mommy, they're trying to talk to daddy, and mommy and daddy are preoccupied with a conversation. They don't even have enough sense to get off the phone and hold their children's hands when they're crossing the street.
Well, one of the things I think we here have had some exposure to some wonderful teachers and books and scholars. There are parents who are watching who have not had that exposure. And I would like to suggest that there are people out there, whether it be Ivan Van Sertima, what he talks about the family, Dr. Kofi Asake Opoku talking about African values. There are people out there who have the information that some of our young people need in order to be prepared for adulthood, both the husbands and the wives, because they cannot get that preparation from mass media. They cannot get that preparation from someone outside of our community. And that's part of what I think becomes critical, is that the values formation that is instilled by some of our great teachers and some of our elders and grandparents, that values formation is now being, in some sense, handed over to people outside our community. And we cannot allow the values of our children to be formed or taught by people who are not part of our community, because they don't have our best interests at heart. That's what's critical, and it's important.
Well, and again, it comes back.
Let's take the caller.
Okay.
If you're on the line, Bev?
Yes, sir. Hello. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay,
Oh, you called last week?
Yes, I did. I want to make a point.
What's your point? What about last week?
I'm hearing you talk about mommy and daddy and parents.
Listen, Danny, I tell you what. Cut them off. Cut them off. Danny, if you want to talk to us, you come to the office with your loud mouth. I'm sick of you. Anything wrong with the switcher? Don't spend too much time with the idiots.
We can't be distracted.
Danny, his name is. I thought you were somebody else.
What again?
Danny, one thing I want to say to you, Danny, you show some respect or you come down and show your face. all right? Put the camera, yeah, I'm talking, Bev. Bev. Anyway, Danny, if you want to talk to us, you come down and talk in person. I'm sick of you, all right? You're not going to be allowed to call. At least you left your name this time. But I mean, these kind of people who, see, everybody's got an opinion. And last week I said a bad word, and
Like
a
a
woman.
butthole. Everybody has one.
Yeah.
There's another caller on the line. Perhaps we have an intelligent person this time.
Carl from Harlem. Speak up, Carl.
Good evening, brother. How y'all doing?
All right.
Okay.
I just want to say, brother, y'all on a great subject, and I think that we got away from teaching our young, right? And we need to get back to that because in order to know what we're our future lives, we must know our history and we must know where we are in the present. We as a people have a rich, rich history.
Yes.
But we need to understand that it's our duty as individuals to teach our young. And we start that from home, and we continue that through the churches and the different organizations. And I think we have a different people. And that's my comment. And if y'all would like to respond, I would appreciate it. Y'all have a great day, brother.
All right.
Thank you for adding to the conversation, brother. It is critical. And sometimes what we assume, and it's funny because we were talking before, our age, we're all seniors here, and sometimes we assume that younger brothers and sisters have had some of the information that we have had. Many of them have not, and they're not getting it in school. Sad to say, they're not even getting it in church. You know, from everything from Jacob Carruthers and what he was teaching about speech, you know, you don't call your children certain names. There's some words you should not use to address your children or even use in the presence of your children. That's the kind of thing that not many people are teaching nowadays to the 20, 25-year-olds who are getting married. So they are doing things, flying by the seat of their pants. They haven't been taught how to be parents.
Right.
And some of that we may not have taught them the way that we should, but certainly we need to attend to that our communities, our community centers, our churches need to do a better job of teaching some of our young people how to be good parents. It's not something that they're going to develop, you know, well, overnight they develop the skill. Because somebody got pregnant, that means they have the skills to be a good parent. We have to step in and say this, and this is what has to be taught to our children and understand that it's our job to teach it.
I think it's basically we as black people, we have to learn to respect one another more than we do. I think basically some of our biggest problems come from how we treat each other.
Amen.
And until we get to the point that we can love one another and understand that we have to take the universal energy of our spiritual ancestors who fought much harder fight than Danny understands. I mean, it's buffoonery for some of the, you see the stupidity come out of his mouth. But we listen to that, so we feel more reassured that we're on the right path.
I want to commend you, because again, a show like this I think is invaluable. We can disagree, and there are times that we disagree.
Yeah.
But A, I'm not going to cuss you out.
Right.
B, I'm not going to take a swing at you.
Right.
That's a lesson in and of itself that our children need to learn. There are brothers and sisters with whom we disagree. There may be a spouse with whom we disagree, but that doesn't mean I'm going to cuss you out. That doesn't mean I'm going to take a swing at you. A show like this can help some people, because there are some young people that's never been said to them.
But why is it in our neighborhoods, the kids, if you look at somebody too hard, I mean,
because most of them don't watch shows like this. They watch some bang bang shoot 'em up.
You got to realize that most kids have watched on television.
Garbage.
We have watched movies. They're all about killing. And I have talked about this before with regard. You remember growing up, you had the cowboy and Indian movies. And then it went from cowboys and Indians to the detective movies, Dial M for Murder, and you know, there are a million stories in the Naked City, and this has been one of them. Yeah. And then it went to the gangster movies, and we had gangster movies in back of the days, all right? Then from the gangsters, it went to the war movies, because we had the war movies with John Wayne and all those clowns, Audie Murphy, and there's the enemy over there. Now we've come back into the war movies, but now we've gotten into the superheroes, and the demons and and Dracula and all those people, all about death and about killing, and understanding that how life has been invalued or devalued in all of these cinematic processings. Life has been devalued. So a kid is seeing shootings, even the games, all right?
Yeah,
Grand Theft
You
Auto,
can't even
all
count
that
how many
stuff.
bodies end up
all
with that
right?
show.
Now, unless you have been, unless you have stood, unless you have smelled death, and I've smelled it, I've seen it. Unless you've seen people physically disemboweled, heads torn off, and I've seen that. Unless you have smelled decomposing bodies that have been rotting for 5 or 6 days in the heat, where you can smell the body 2 blocks away. Unless you've been there, it ain't a movie. It's not a video game. So our kids need to understand that their life is sacred. If you are angry with me, I might be the very person who 20 years from now you might need to save your life. We need to see the value in that where you are at 15 and 16 is not where you're going to be at 30. And if you have a cool head, go to school realizing that the person I'm angry with today could be the medical doctor tomorrow to save my life or develop a treatment that could save my life. We see the value in that. All right? That's not being stressed and taught. I'm doing a session next month at one of the colleges here in New York because they're having problems amongst the students in the college that are getting into fist fights in the classrooms.
Oh, well.
All right? So how do we, and this is in a college setting. This is not on the corner. College setting. So how do we get, these are young adults now. See, education doesn't mean anything if you don't have some other fillers to your body. That young lady running around with the football guy, she has a college education, but she's not educated. She's ignorant, unfortunately. So
a lot of these women become men.
You know, you have, I'm gonna sit with these young people and find out what is it that triggers, what's triggering the violence. What's going on? It's not the person talking to you. There's something going on in you. There's something in you that is wrong. If a person speaks to you and you don't like the way they speak, that's fine. But it shouldn't go to the point that you're now attacking somebody, even in a school setting.
Well, you know, as we wind down, you know, it's a time to reflect on how far we've come. You know, it's difficult to understand how we treat each other. It's my main concern. How we look at each other and frown and snarl and shoot each other up and blame it on somebody else because you have the gun in your hand and you're the one pulling the trigger. And you have to think about that and concentrate on the God in you who loves the God in you to start with. Gilchrist Experience. Thank you.
A better world has to be built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, built, and the only way it's going to be built is with extreme methods. And I, for one, will join in.